Hello, and welcome to the 17th episode of Game Development Journal live stream. And today we have a guest, our new member, Nikita. Say hi.
Hi. Hello. Hello, everyone.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. If you don't count the cold I catch this week, yeah. But otherwise, everything is fine. Work is going on.
Good. That's the main point. You're alive and you're doing your job. So, if you can hear us nice and clear, please write in the chat, and we'll start. So let's begin with the main point. How's going our progress of development? The logic part, game logic. What have been done recently? Because our viewers last time saw the stream in English 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was quite a lot of time passed. So let's recap all things that been done.
Okay. I think there are three different steps we've made. One was making some logic for events, some for making decisions. So for a leader can make some decisions on their own, and then the disciples who are on the quest, they can participate in events and find some defense from the dangers they meet and encounter.
The system of decision making was done, or some base for it was established.
So the base decision making was done before me, and I've implemented the making decision for leader. So he will check from everyone for how he can make some one thing to escape the danger overall.
Okay.
And now we are going into the step when we can create different sort of events. It's another step. It's because for now we have one event that happens in the woods. It's
a test event, right? It's a test event, right?
Sort of. It's with Nettle.
We was trying all this logic based on the one single event that's about.
And now we are trying to populate it with different sort of events to see how different mechanics are working. So that's why we are working in tandem with other game designers. So someone is creating conditions that can be that disciples can get in these events. Some working on items and spells that can help with these events. I'm helping with testing this stuff, so they can create and test and iterate quickly with their events.
Okay, so if I'm correct, there is 3 persons working on a quest logic right now. You,
Sergey and
Alexei Adrageron, right?
Yes.
So Adrageron creates this core tasks that should be done, like a main idea that should be created, and you're providing Sergey with what? With tools that can be useful to create this logic, right?
Yeah. So Sergey will create the logic of events with blocks. I'm helping him test it, and of course I'm helping to create these logic blocks. So for example, we have an event with nettle, with insects, and we need to check if disciples have some sort of defense. So because there is a stinking ointment that can help with this event to prevent insects to bite you. But then there is 2 steps of checking what can be done. So first of all, we are checking if we have stinking ointment already. And then if we are not, we are using this item. So every disciple see if there is an item or a spell that can help and use it on himself.
Okay, so sounds like a basic mechanic for a whole game. So disciples should know what they can do and what they should do.
Yeah. So the main idea of the next days is to create events and to see what logic we can create and what logic we need to be done.
Okay, is there any events currently in development specific?
As I've said, insects, but it was a test event for.
Is the event,
there was a nettle event that I think we've showed in previous times. I don't know, but it just some stat checks and then disciples get conditions, and this test event is more like about using items or spells to help with the problem, with obstacle.
Also, during these 3 weeks, you helped create a quest log system and also a final report for quests. So let's see how it works. For example, we've completed exploration quest on a map. We revealed some areas with locations and resources and how it looks in a report. We have a timeline, and on a timeline you can see event marks with different events happening. Mostly it's discovery events because it was exploration, but also there is destination reached and other types. So basically it's full journal of everything that happened to the party during their traveling on a map, and we can track everything that happened, even such small events like mealtime. We can see what they've gathered, what they've ate, and what they've been trying to cook. And at the end, the main thing is the final report, where we can see the result of a quest, the progress of disciples, how they improved their skills, what kind of traits or secondary skills been revealed, and final discovery list. So it's much easier to see what's been done during the journey than scrolling through all the events.
Yeah.
Can you shortly describe how it's been done and how it works, and what can be done to improve it, or what are goals?
So basically, we are having all our blocks with information in our report, and then final report gathers them all up and trying to separate them into everything into types. So if we have some item interaction, then it goes to one basket.
For example, they've consumed some food, right?
Yeah. So they've gathered some food, they've consumed it, and then we can see in the final report who've done what, and what are leftovers from this. How much we gathered, or disciples ate everything they've found.
Let's try it with a real task. For example, we want to find some food, fish, for example, right? Yeah. We go fishing, and we send these 2 disciples to fish for 2 days. Let's go. And while they're doing it, we can see on a global map, under the fish icon, there is progress bar, and it shows the richness of deposits of this kind of resource. So if we will update the map, we will see that progress bar went down. So resource was taken away from the deposit, and some of resources can be restored, like natural resources like a fish, other food, but not all of them. So if you will deplete the deposit that's not recoverable, that's it. You need to find a new one. So the quest is complete, fishing, and we'll go into the quest timeline, and we'll see there's a lot of small events like working, and during the work we can see what they've gathered. Yeah. But in the final report, it's much easier to see the summary. So one character increased his monstrology up to 0.3 of a level. So for now he doesn't have even a level 1 in monstrology, but he's working on it. And we can see the important thing, inventory changes. For example, first character gathered 39 fish and second one 21. So we know that first one can be much more productive in a future fishing, so we can send him. Also, we can see the consumption of ratios that they've created during the travel time. They've used the fish they've gathered to convert it into the proper food, but they don't have proper cooking skills, so they failed miserably and created spoiled ratio.
But
right?
still, it's better than raw food.
Of course, because the raw food can lead to disease, right? Don't eat raw fish except sushi. Good. What else? So you've created quest log logic, still in work in progress. We're improving on it, but because the core is made.
Yeah, maybe you've seen a lot of logs when you've made a detailed list of this. So the main point is to make it clear. So make some stacking of using items and so on.
Yeah, we want to simplify the visual representation of information, so it's easy to digest and to figure out what's important and what's not. So still work in progress, but we already have a base.
Yes.
Good. What about Alexei? Any news? What he's doing? Maybe no. Some spoilers.
I don't think I know because he's mostly digging into his stuff and making everything work. Get rid of something that don't work or very old and make something new. But I think he will
say now it's a mystery.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And also getting back to the events, there is one already implemented event about burning ivy. So if you're a group trying to go through the forest, there is a chance that they will stock these bushes of ivy that are kind of dangerous for you. They can leave boils and itchiness as a symptom, and it will affect their happiness, I think, right? And probably other stats, but maybe you know what else. If you will go to the disciple and you will find, for example, Totri, and she has some Irumea. Good. So she has boils and she has itchiness, and it drastically affects her charisma and probably her health. But it's temporary symptoms that they will go away in a couple of days probably. So it's not a big deal. So she'll be fine. For a global map, we're working on adding new creatures. For example, we've added Lake Snarer. Probably you saw it previously on the previous streams. We're working on icons for human dwellings, like cities and villages and smaller buildings like mill or sawmill. But we'll talk about it a little bit later with our artist Rita. For logic, I think that's it, and we can move on to something else, right? Or you have anything to say to add about the progress on the logic side? To sum up everything.
Yeah, so to sum up, we are working on finished report and we are making it better. So yes, there are some things in pipeline that we want to implement, and maybe there will be something more. We will look when we reach to some how to say it to some needs, some our needs in that part.
It'll be in the future, but for now,
the main thing is to make events. So I think in the next stream, you will see a lot of new events that we've implemented.
No promises. We're not promising anything. We're working on it, so we'll try to show it.
But
who knows?
we need something for implementing this. So this is the main goal of next weeks, and it is the main part.
Good. Then that's it for logic part. Thank you. And we'll be asking our art department to continue the stream. So thank you, Nikita.
Yeah.
We'll see you on the next stream.
Yeah. See you next time.
Good. And we are back. Now we have a new guests, our art department,
Woo!
Rita and Monica.
Hi.
Our department.
Yeah, our department rocks,
Yeah.
right? Cool. So let's switch some.
Andrei's just saying that because he's kind of part of the art department.
I'm part of all departments, right?
He touches all the parts of the department. Anyways.
Okay, so let's talk about art because
Yeah.
it's much more interesting to look at, right? Let's switch to our real-time board and we'll discuss some updates about the creatures. If you remember, we was working on Lake Snarer. It's a creature that lives in the lakes and rivers, and it looks.
Why is it called snarer?
Because it ensnares your hand. It can ensnare your limbs. And stuff.
Okay, can you describe him? What's the size? What he's doing? Like what his hobbies? You know, all this stuff.
Oh, his life and hobbies. Well, he probably lives in the lake and catches all sorts of small fish and other tiny critters.
But it's quite big for this kind of creature, right? It's
1
from
meter.
50 centimeters to 1 meter, so it's.
Yeah. I think we had a picture of the giant clam somewhere far away. So if you're aware of the giant clam that we have on Earth, so this creature's size is something bigger than the giant clam.
It's actually quite close.
Yeah.
It can be bigger.
We can't see a human next to it, but just imagine that you saw this beautiful flower and you know that there's a pearl inside, which we will return to later on with the inventory items. So you want to sort of mingle inside of the creature and it just snaps your hand off and you're a goner.
Because the edge of his shell is super sharp.
Yeah,
That's
very
why
sharp.
it's super dangerous to go diving and hunting these ingredients from this creature.
Yes. Also, I think that the snap, the way it closes is really fast and super strong.
It should be called Lake Snapper.
Lake snapper. It's easier to pronounce. There's snarer.
That's right. Okay, so we finished the coloring process. It took us quite a while, but it's done now. And we've moved on to drawing items that can be gained from this creature, right?
Yep.
Let's go there and we'll see. We have 2 items that can be gained. It's a tentacle thing and a pearl.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the pearl.
Yeah.
What do we have here?
As you can see that it's a rare item compared to the tentacle, which is just uncommon. So I guess not every snarer will have a pearl inside, so you may lose your arm for nothing. But
But some can have several pearls at once.
So the idea was just to take a look at different kinds of shapes. So some are wonky, some are round. But since we have, if you move a bit up, since we already have quite a few wonky minerals already, we decided.
Like amber.
Yeah,
or...
they're funny shape. Yeah, opal.
Opal, yes. Thank you.
Funny shape. So we've decided to go with something round because it'll be more recognizable. And then we have, since the creature itself, if you move more, since the creature itself is sort of very neon and kind of colorful, I've decided to go with a rainbowish kind of tint to the pearl. Yeah, since we didn't have this kind of color scheme in our previous rocks and minerals as well.
So it stands out quite a lot in a row of these items, so it'll be easy to find it scrolling through the list of different items.
And
so that's good.
Since it's rare, it looks fancy, right? If you compare it to a rock.
Maybe it's a fancy rock, who knows?
Yeah. Just a reminder, because our items are sort of developed in a way that very common items will look very sort of bland, and stuff as the item becomes rarer and rarer, it's
so common stuff
look...
looks boring,
yeah,
and fancy stuff looks cool,
fancy
and
cool.
shiny.
Yeah,
that's the goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go to the second item that can be gathered from this creature. Is his tentacle thing. It's a little bit similar to the mermaid's tentacle because they have.
But we flipped it, so now it's different.
It's a tentacle.
Yeah.
Tentacles are similar.
Also, interesting thing about this creature is that it has these glowing bits.
Yeah.
So it attracts, I think, fish and other creatures by its glowing flower.
Kleptomaniacs, probably.
Yes.
Yeah. Trying to steal his pearl. And he grabs them with his tentacles. As description says, it's quite powerful alchemical ingredient, so it should be really useful during the campaign, so you know where to get it, in the rivers and the lakes. Good. Is there any else? Oh, some new items. Cool. We already forgot about them, but since we haven't shown anything since 3 weeks, we can talk about them.
It's been a while.
Yeah, what are those?
What are those? There's burnet, which is just a simple flower that you can find in your backyard. Maybe, I don't know. It's not a fictional
it's from our
item.
real world, right?
Yeah. Then we have sleepgrass, which is a bit more funky. Because it's fiction.
What's her properties? Why it's so unique and why it's shaped so weirdly?
Well, first of all, we can find it in the fields. So at first glance, you can say, hey, fields are pretty boring. Nothing really happens in the fields. Sorry, plains, they're called. Fallen plains.
Who knows?
Who knows? Fields,
we
plains.
have fields by the villages.
Yeah.
Where people work.
So plains. Plains are plain, but we not only have the stinktail, which can sort of kill you with its sting, but we have the sleepgrass, which if you're tired and you just lay down for a nap on the field plains.
So it makes you sleepy, right?
Yeah.
And if you'll be in the middle of a field, you'll go to sleep and you can die because there will be a lot of predators going around.
Like a giggler. It can sort of snatch your eye out or something.
Interesting thing about the fields of sleepgrass is that Tasluk, our creature, isn't affected by its properties, so he can't go to sleep because he has this mask-like face, right?
Yes, as far as I know, Tasluk is immune to most poisons, especially the ones that are in the air.
If it wasn't for humans,
because he's filtering everything through his nostrils, right?
He's immune to the death flower pollen. He's immune to sleepgrass.
If it wasn't for humans, the slugs would populate the whole Rund.
Yes.
So
basically,
probably. Yeah.
Good. What else? What is this bottle and strange thing?
Oh, good thing you asked. It's Earth Leech saliva. We have this critter called Earth Leech, which you can find in the swamp and near the lake. There you go.
Let's find it. Here it is.
There it is. There it is.
Near the lake.
Yeah, so you're kind of hanging out next to the lake, and it's not just one leech. It's a whole army of leeches. And
like 3 of them, right?
No, you can count 6. See?
Good.
So they can kind of, if again, they're not dangerous if you're healthy and you're fine. But if you're tired or wounded and alone and lost somewhere next to the lake or the swamps, they can kind of crawl over you and drain your blood.
So they're, if I remember correctly, they're mostly night creatures, right?
Yeah.
So they'll appear during the night and they'll hunt you. If you'll be sleeping on the ground, it's
On
dangerous.
on the sleep grass.
It's double danger, you know. It's
You're wounded.
no.
Sleeping on sleep grass
By the river.
by the river.
It's a death sentence for you.
Yes, basically.
Yeah. And our second item in the row is Giggler's egg.
Yeah.
The Giggler itself, let's find it in the Wikipedia.
Yeah. Look at you being so fast, like
Yeah.
you know
Here
your
it
book.
is.
Oh, there
Right.
it is.
Giggler. So it lives in a forest, ancient forest, plains, and hills.
Yeah.
So it's quite common dangerous creature in this world of Rund.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, it looks like a mix of some kind of a bird and a dog or hyena.
With back problems, yeah.
Yeah. And we decided that why not laying eggs, right?
Yeah.
It would look good.
Yeah, and it's carrying diseases as well. So he's kind of we could animate some. I think we plan to animate some flying bugs around it or something. Buzzing. Yeah, so it's a disease-carrying animal. So for its egg, there was a whole sort of production process of making sure the egg kind of looks sleazy in a way. Now it looks like a dino egg actually, but so yeah, it has sort of purplish stains, and purple suits the color of the animal, and it has kind of dimples or something to its texture.
It looks crowded. Like.
Yeah. So so yeah, there you go, Giggler's egg.
Good. Interesting fact about Giggler. He creates nests using the bones and carcasses of dead animals.
Yeah. So if you're not careful, he'll create a nest out of your bones.
Your disciples.
Your
mage will be in the tower all the time, so he's fine, but your disciples in danger. And also you'll be able to find on the global map the nests, so you can loot them and maybe find something interesting.
Yeah.
Or not.
Now we can imagine the nests.
Yeah. It's on the list of our points of interest.
Yep.
Good. What about the main point of global map and what you've been doing last week or so? Was it improvements of points of interest, like full illustrations, right? So what we see here and what's going on?
So this is super fresh, like hot out of the oven. Out of the oven. This is our location, Monolith. So it's a very, very old statue, basically before the mages even. It's super ancient, right? So to this day, people sort of bring all kinds of fruits.
They don't know what it is, but they are worshipping it,
yeah,
right?
Like a god. So
I think it's not only humans, mostly non-humans that are worshipping these artifacts of the past.
Yeah. So, and here I am trying to finalize. So basically, I'm working on objects on map and off map right now. Since a lot of creatures are already finished, I'm finalizing all the locations and objects. So Monolith is the first one I started working with together with, this is idol actually, and I called it Monolith. Yeah, this is an idol. Monolith is another piece of rock actually. That's why I've confused them a bit.
Looks differently.
Yeah, it looks different. It's not on the board, no.
So final iteration, why it looks like it looks.
So if we look at the previous one, I've just got super fresh feedback that it looks like it's been put on by a ton of birds. And it looked kind of boring because the initial sketch had a lot of plants over it. But since we want to use this object in all sorts of locations, including underground, where we don't have many plants, so we just decided to use moss, moss to cover it, and to make it a bit more interesting, we decided to add some of the stuff that the non-humans bring to the
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 shrine,
idol, to
some
the
kind of
shrine.
shrine, right?
Yeah, to build some kind of shrine, to add a bit of color, and so yeah.
So we've added this tiny altar area where they
Yeah.
can bring their gifts to this
Yeah.
godlike thingy. Good. And this point of interest will be used in our quest reports. For example, exploration. As you can see, ancient forest, and there is nothing on the background. No objects that been discovered.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, it's here actually.
Yeah, it's on the map. It's still a sketch version of a icon for a global map. Will be improved later, but it already is recognizable. You can see that's the idol on the map.
You're getting a lot of students.
Yeah, I don't care about them. Okay, so exploration finished, and what I wanted to show you is our points of interest.
Yeah.
As you can see on the left side, there is ruins.
Another bunch of rocks. We have many rocky.
Yeah, rocks from a past, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And our disciples discovered them and went inside, and they have found a chest.
That's
so,
exciting. Yeah.
We have this composite image with a background
Yeah.
representing the area where everything is going on, the biome. On the left side, there is a location or point of interest, more detailed, specific location. And on the right side, there is encounters.
You have an encounter with a chest.
Yes, you have encountered a chest. And your
nice.
group decided to unlock it, and they have found 3 different books, so it will help them.
Someone stored like fiction books.
Yeah, comics, probably comics.
Some nerd, yeah.
And they've returned. So yeah, that's the area of interface where it will be used.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back and let's see what's been done also.
The big one.
Yeah, it is a big area of research. We are trying to figure out the way how to draw
basically human
objects. How to draw objects in general on a map.
Yeah.
Not only the human objects, but for now we are working with the human objects as a one example, and then we will translate it to other locations as well. So we've picked up 3 different objects: human objects, town, village, and mill. And we're looking what kind of style will suit the map better, and what style of architecture will work better for this world as well. Because as you can see, we have already finished or almost finished backgrounds for farmlands, village, and town. And in the village, it looks more or less like old semi-destroyed, shaggy village. Yeah, so it's not very much prosperous.
Yeah.
And town is a work in progress, and we can't see much of a architecture style in it. So we have some.
It's gloomy and black and white, you know.
That's important.
Yeah, that's right. The point.
So we've decided to look.
But like, if you go back to the previous, the stuff that we sort of Control Z. Thank you. The stuff that we've discussed is basically how maybe put at the map is how flat are the objects, because if you can see the village in number 4 or the town in number 2, they're more realistic, they're more 3D, which is kind of cool as it looks on the map, but at the same time there are versions that are marked in green that are more kind of flat. So for a sort of medieval style game, this would probably suit more.
Yeah, we're trying to achieve more of a symbolic and simplified look of objects than 3D real rendering of how it looks, right? Yeah. So it should be more.
So basically, we've dropped the idea of sort of these buildings standing on the map as sort of more realistic, in a more realistic way. But at the same time, there are examples that are too flat, too 2D, like this version. Yeah,
like front view and nothing else.
So basically, the objects should still be facing different sides in the flat image, like the mills and stuff. So yeah, so we moved on. So in this version, I was experimenting with architecture, basically, trying to figure out how our town looks like. And how to sort of we were talking about a very small icon, right? So in the small icon you should make sure that the architecture is sort of recognizable. At the same time you can understand that it's a town, not a village.
Yeah, for example, here on the global map, if you'll zoom out, where you can see this tiny icon, and it should be readable in a small size, and we should clearly distinct different human objects one from another.
Yeah. So I drew a ton of versions, and we've picked mainly number 1 and 6. Number 9 kind of got rejected along the way.
Yeah, because it's too much reminds of some kind of mushroom structure or some
we'll
kind
keep
of
it
bubbles.
for the mushroom eaters.
Probably, like civilization of mushroom eaters will develop some kind of this.
So
and mostly we have some kind of a freedom in the architecture because we are not strictly trying to fit into the dark medieval style. We have options to work with, so we're trying different kind of roofing, different kind of towers and shapes, so we're looking what will fit the best. So maybe we'll have some kind of a mix between number 1 and 6. Not super gothic dark town village, and not exactly Mediterranean architecture, something in between. Because if you remember, the weather in the Rune and seasons, they're not the same as in our world.
Yeah, they don't have as many.
Yeah, the planet doesn't have this shift tilt, right? And that's why it's mostly the same weather during the year if you're not moving around much to the poles.
Yeah, to the north and or to the south.
That's right. Good. So we've picked a couple of options, and we're working right now with them and trying to figure out how to mix them and how they can look.
Yeah. So with the village, basically, we'll try to make it similar to the town. Right now, it's very different from the town. Basically, the village style is a bit off at the moment. So we'll try to make it look a little bit more similar to how our example towns look like at the moment. So and then we'll move on to the mill. If you go to the board again, we have some interesting mill examples that we'll hopefully, or maybe we'll show them as we progress with the mill later on. Yeah.
Where?
Just the references. That we
don't want to make.
We don't want to make a typical mill. We've
collected a bunch of different references to work with, so we trying to mix and match and find the right design for us, because using the generic mill from medieval times is a little bit boring. We can do better than this, right?
No answer, right?
You can always do better.
So
good. Anything else? Any other updates for art, locations, map? Anything else?
That's it, really. Next week, I'm working on locations for the map and for the illustrations, and new inventory items are coming soon as well. Even though we don't like to talk about the future, but
no, nothing about the future.
Nothing.
Future is unclear.
Items are gonna be drawn, but what items? Who
and
knows?
When?
And when? Yeah.
Ooh, mystery.
Yes. So that's
good. Okay. Let's move on to more of a interface and informative layer, and we'll talk about icons, animations, and everything that adds to the game. Probably you can remember that we've already shared some information about skills, and in the build we had the sketch illustrations for skills, secondary skills, and so on. And this past weeks, Monica was working on finalizing sketches, and improving on them, making them look nice
And just writing a bunch of notes on the board.
Yeah. So as you can see, there is tons of options and fixes and tiny changes and big changes and improvements on the skills and
A board that keeps on giving.
yeah, just to share how much work was, how much time and work was spent
I think we can
perfecting them.
We can start from the sketches or something.
Yeah, we'll just go to this final summary.
Yes.
That will be easy to navigate and see. Some of you have seen the first sketches that we developed. We was trying different shapes and different symbols for each of the skills, and mostly we've finished and approved the final concept and final sketch. That's what we've done. So let's hear Monica and what she thinks about the development of symbols and how we reached the state that we've chose these symbols and the way the style is right now.
Okay, so let's begin at the beginning. That the first concepts were done, I think, a year and a half ago. We started them before the game even before the game even looked like a game. Before we even had the first build, it was just the idea of how we represent symbols in the
So
game. Like
it was a mock-up of
Yes.
of ideas, basically.
Yes, it's a mock-up of ideas, the character screen concepts that were thrown out the window. And at the beginning, we didn't even know how many of these we will have. And the first concepts were absolutely nowhere near what we finished.
Yeah, so we was trying to find this direction, right?
Yes.
The overall direction of how we want to see them in the end.
Yes. There were versions like in the social and domestic skills, which are very cartoony or like had hands, because we thought it was gonna be magical stuff.
Domestic magic was very complicated, as I remember.
Yeah, it was extremely complicated. I think it has the most iterations of all this. No, concentration has the most iterations of all the icons, and domestic magic is second next. These are two the most complicated.
Our champions.
Yeah, champions, because how do you represent symbolically concentration that it's understandable?
It's always a hard task to find the proper symbol for something that's not physical object, that's something elusive, right? It's always research.
Yeah, because geology and herbology were so easy. It's just, a plant and something with rocks. Good, it's 5 iterations were done. We finished with the iterations, and for the longest time, the approved concepts were in the game. And until very, very recently, like I think a month ago, when we decided that we wanted to begin finalizing them.
Yeah, they've been waiting for their time for quite a long. But they've been approved.
Yeah,
so
they've been approved.
We finally decided to polish them and finalize and finish.
And the first thing we did was try to find the style. And the first style we chose was vectors, like very flat and simplified icons, which look horrible. But it
just looks not from our game, right? It's fine for websites, for anything like nowadays it can be used, right?
It's but too modern.
Yes, but not medievalish.
It was a choice between looking like not skills, but character stats or closer to our other icons in the game, like items.
Yeah.
In the end, we chose something in between. Like, it should be flat, it should be symbolic, but not too symbolic, and we went to finalizing the design.
What I want to add is approved concept consists of a list of rules that should be used. It was simplicity, readability, more or less symbolism. So it's not some kind of specific object, it's some symbol that represents a whole area of this stuff. Magic,
sometimes
travel, or anything else.
Pretty specific sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. And we've moved on to the finalization of a style. So as you can see, there's 3 steps: first iteration, improvement, and final step. They're more or less similar, but they improved each step. And in between, we had like
What were the
a
changes
lot.
basically, and what were the most difficult parts probably?
Well, the changes usually were trying to find the shape, the perfect shape, and the perfect colorization and shading.
And
for
details
it.
probably.
Yeah, and absolutely it was detailing. The first thing that went was detailing. If you can look at the geology icon, this one, the first one, is too detailed and too shiny, and it doesn't look good. Like, it's fine. It could be used in some other game which had tons of details everywhere, but now here we needed to simplify it as much as possible without taking away visual pleasure and clarity.
As you can see, first crystal is shiny and it looks like it's item from our game, more or less. So it can be used as an item, but for an icon it's a little bit too complex. So it has too much of a 3D feeling. It's too real for a symbol.
Yeah, some items like artificing it looks good on its own, but it lacks something additional, or astrology, or even literacy, like some tiny details that would add to the spice of the icon, so it looked recognizable but also really, really nice.
Yeah, so we've established the basic symbol long ago.
Yeah.
But for now it was about the improvement and increasing the amount of details to the proper level, and also making it nice and juicy so it looks less generic, less boring, and more into our style. So you can see in the final icons there was a lot of changes in the color, and we've tried to level up the colors of the icons. They're much more distinct. For example, concentration, it was much more bland and desaturated. It was harder to distinguish if you're scrolling through the skills, but for now it has this obvious combination of blue and red that's you definitely can recognize it from all other items.
Taslu got less angry as well.
Yeah.
We just realized that Tasluk is actually kind of neutral. He was just staring at us angrily for a while.
And let's go and see them in a game. So here they, without the background, it's Wikipedia page about the skill. You can see the secondary skills and the main skill with primary and secondary stats that affect it.
The good thing is that primary and secondary are very distinct from each other. The styles, right? You can see that primary is colorful, detailed, whatsoever, and the secondary one is very simplistic. Where's tracking?
Tracking should not be there.
Yeah,
Oh,
should be removed from a game. Spoilers.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've tried to create these different levels of importance of skills. For example, between skills and secondary skills, right? The amount of detail, coloring, and overall quality of illustration is much higher than a secondary skill because it's much less important. It gives you some, but it's not as big as a main skill, so it's also represented in the way how it's drawn, how it's made. But both of them keep the idea of simplicity, symbolism, readability, so it's always easy to understand what's going on and what kind of thing it is, skill or secondary skill. So yeah, I think that's it about the skills and the process. Do you have anything to say about the animation process? What are you using and how long it takes to create animation of a creature, roughly?
Okay. First of all, it's The first step in animating a creature is understanding what it is, and it's working with Rita in establishing which parts are more like movable and which are not, to not overcrowd or over bend the items, the parts that move a lot.
So as I'm drawing, well, in the beginning, as I was drawing the creatures, we didn't really talk about animation, but nowadays we do. As I'm drawing, I'll be like, Monica, how are you gonna animate it? And she'll be like, I don't know.
So there is always this discussion stage where you figure out how the creature should be drawn, so it will be easier for Monica to animate it.
The second step in animation is just cutting out the parts that are movable. This is not...
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cutting out the parts that are movable, and sometimes some animations require a part that can only be animated by hand because it's too complicated to rig it. So the third step is rigging, and the rigging part takes the most time of all of the animation. I can cut the creature in like a few hours, but the rigging can take from a day to 2 days to even 3 days, especially if it has a lot of moving parts and very, very complicated smooth parts. And then the fun part begins. The animation process usually takes me about a day, but sometimes some creatures like the mermaid I could not rig her right. I tried many times, but she's still, some parts of her, like most of her is okay, but then there's these flowy long parts that I can just not get my head around how to rig. It's a learning process because I'm skilled in hand-drawn animation and not so
classic
much
animation, right?
in classic animation, and not so much in working with spine and rigging, but it's really, really fun, especially when you have a rig done. You can just animate it in any way you want.
What creature are you looking forward to animate from the future?
In the future, I'm actually looking forward to animating the swamp monster.
Oh.
Because it has these gooey parts and these like scary tentacles. It doesn't move much, but like the atmosphere of the monster itself is just really, really exciting to think about even.
There was a glimpse of Death Flower as we were talking.
Yeah, trying to show something.
If you can find the creeper, it has a mix of traditional animation and...
But we didn't find the creeper, but we found the fluter.
Yeah.
With sound.
Hooray.
So
what software do you use for animation?
Well, Photoshop for cutting out everything, and Spine as the main tool for animation. Aside from that, if it's hand-drawn animation, I use Photoshop as well, because it's the easiest to export PNG files and then add as a...
But at first, do we get the sound and then you animate, or the other way around?
We began, when we started animations, we began with sound first and animation later. But it was complicated because not always the animation turns out... Not always you can move the creature as much as the sound is like aggressive. If the sound is aggressive, you want to move the creature a lot, but the drawing and the rig is far more limited.
There are more boundaries.
Yeah, there are more boundaries. So now I do the animations, and then we ask for the sound from Anna.
Yeah, so there you go. If you're making a game.
Yeah,
now you know how to do it properly.
Actually, if you make animations in anything, you first have the drafts, then you send the draft animation. All the movements have to be there, the timing has to be there, and only then you can send it to actors or whatever, because otherwise you're just gonna be really have a hard time making it all move to the sound.
Yeah, so we have a forest kitty loading.
Yeah,
forest cat.
Bad quality. Oh, you have to just play it again. There we go.
There we go. There's our forest cat. So yeah, it's pretty cool that we'll have the creatures animated.
Yeah,
which will,
hopefully we won't have only the creatures animated.
For
but
now?
For now,
It's the creatures.
It's the creatures, yeah. Yeah, some animations are very like small and smooth.
Oh,
Like
the
this one,
Inquisitor.
yeah, he doesn't move a lot.
He's the fire starter.
Yeah,
Twisted fire starter.
He knows his moves.
Yeah. I don't remember if he has like a
Yeah, he does.
He does have a
Yeah, if you can find the Drowner is fun. Yeah, this one also has a mix of hand-drawn animation. All the drops are hand-drawn.
And also his lips, right?
Yeah, his lips are
if you
also,
can see,
yeah.
yeah, it's tiny detail, but
Tiny
weird
detail, but
it
he
looks
does
good.
the weird tentacle thing.
Yeah.
Good. So, what are the creatures that will be animated in near future?
In the near future, I'm not sure. We have put off the animation in light of having more immediate tasks like icons, basically, for the map, for the quests.
Exciting! More icons!
Actually, I do love making them because it's a challenge to find the right type of stylization for a very symbolic thing. It's like, are you gonna do it very detailed or no detailed, and how many details do you have to put in there to make it look good?
I see. Okay, so looks like that's it for our art department. Thank you. And maybe if someone have any questions from chat, you can ask. If not, then that will be the end of this episode. We talked a lot about logic, art, build, everything. So you should be informed for the next couple of weeks for sure.
Yeah, now think about it.
Yeah, and get back with the questions. We'll try to answer. So that's it. Thank you for watching. All the recordings will be available on YouTube. You can find all the previous episodes there if you're interested in the process, how we make a game.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, of course, definitely. Check out our Discord because we are quite active there, and we're posting
for the latest VIPs and rants. And
if you want to chat with us.
And if you want to tell your honest opinion, you can go to Discord and be like, hey guys, what the hell are you doing?
Even if it's not so honest, right?
Yeah, or not honest opinions. Yeah.
Good. So thank you everyone for watching. See you next time, and bye-bye.
Bye.